Welcome to CMMS Radio, a podcast and general resource for all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, from selection to implementation to help you make better choices and have a successful CMMS journey. We'll bring in experts along the way to help us learn more about CMMS, facilities operations, and much more. If you need help with the CMMS project, send a message at cmmsradio.com using the What's on Your Mind link. Suggest a topic, share your CMMS story, or ask questions.
Well, this morning you all are in for a treat. We've got an amazing panel discussion that's about to happen on this stage, which I know that you're going to love. And since I've got the band here, we thought it'd be fun for each panelist to come on to their very own walk-on song that they got to choose. So we're excited about this. The moderator of our panel this morning is the podcast host at CMMS Radio. He has over 25 years experience in CMMS, e-commerce, facilities and maintenance operations. And over his career, he's done thousands of demonstrations and has helped clients evaluate and license CMMS solutions. And he's an absolute expert in his field. We're thrilled to have him, and this man wanted to come out to some Metallica. So I hope y'all are ready for this. Please make some noise for Greg Christensen. That was awesome. Welcome, Greg. Well, our first panelist from Washoe County, Nevada. He's the Business Intelligence Program Manager of the Community Services Department and an early adopter of Brightly Asset Essentials software. Give it up for the one and only Aaron Smith. It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight, rising up for the challenge of our rivals. And the last known survivor stalks his prey in the night, and he's watching us all with the eye of the tiger. Yeah.
Oh, a little bit of this, a
That
little
was a
bit
good
of
one.
that, a little
I
bit
like
of
that
that.
one.
Hey.
And now joining us all the way from Baltimore, Maryland, representing Baltimore Public Schools, please welcome Monique Roumo. Welcome, Monique. She wanted some Alicia Keys, and I like that. She grooves for me. And our next panelist is a longtime CMMS administrator who recently joined the Brightly team as an account executive. Isn't that exciting? Please welcome to the stage the one and only Sarah Weddle. 2 hours of bush and broom buys a 8 by 12 4-bedroom. I'm a man of means by no means. I'm king of the road. And last, but certainly not least, our final panelist this morning. He's a senior solutions consultant for Brightly and lives right here in North Carolina. Make some noise for Corey Dickens. All right, Greg, take it away.
Thank you. You guys killed it, and we wanted to start the day off just ripping the roof off of this place. So I'm really honored to be here to do this first ever CMMS radio panel discussion. It's about CMMS, but it's really about our panelists and all of you that make this possible. But I want to do a quick shout out to the sponsors: Amazon Web Services, Alpha Facility Solutions, the Bureau Veritas Group, and Wolpert. And I want to thank all of you for being here. And we're going to kick this off with just some questions that we prepared, and we're going to dig into some of the things about data, the meaning of data, and how each of our panelists are utilizing their various Brightly platforms to drive value and make a difference in their communities and beyond. So we're going to start off with a question for Aaron. And I'm doing this old school, using the index cards, because that's what I imagined when I was coming out here. I didn't know they had this great technology. And I said, hey, I'm just going to do it the way I thought about doing it. We just want to have some fun here and get you ready for what's happening later tonight. It's going to be a huge party. You all know about it. That's why we started off with a bang. So, Aaron, you use several products from Brightly, and I'd like you to please talk to us about the importance and the value of data, specifically the KPIs and the metrics that are driving your process to maintain and protect community-based assets.
Sure, yeah, thank you, Greg. So we use Asset Essentials not just to manage our work orders and our day-to-day activities, but to communicate the value of those services and what we do for our community. We do a lot of things that happen in the background and in the shadows. We want to bring those things to light so that we can make better decisions. And by gathering the data, analyzing it, and getting it to those people that need it to make those decisions, we have less uncertainty about what our future looks like, and we're able to create more value and have those difficult conversations around resource levels and what's needed.
So can you give me one example, just one, because we want to get everybody involved here, of a community-based asset for anybody that doesn't understand what that is?
An asset is anything that is owned by the community that provides value. So a road's an asset, a storm drain's an asset, air handler is an asset. Those things we own and maintain for the benefit of the community as a whole. So our citizens are pooling their resources through tax dollars to buy these things, to do these services, and we are taking it on ourselves to do the best we can with the resources we have to maintain them, extend their lives, and make sure that they're providing the expected levels of service.
Awesome. So we're going to come back to this because I want to move things around a little bit for everyone. So next, Monique. We've talked a lot about this ahead of time. I'm really glad that you made it in and that we're here today. You have spent essentially 15 years in executive operations leadership with Baltimore City Public Schools. You've seen a lot, and I think covering things like building maintenance, other facilities, design, construction, basically all of operations. And I wanted to ask you, has there been an evolution over all of these years as you've utilized Brightly, and what did that evolution look like?
Yes, it was painful. So when I came on with operations, we were actually under a mandate to purchase a new CMMS system. So we received a program called the 21st Century Buildings Program, where it was $1 billion to do. We've been able to complete about 28 schools to date over a 10-year period. We have 2 more schools that we're still doing. But we were required as a part of this whole program to purchase a CMMS. And so initially it was just one person sitting in a corner who had been managing our legacy system. Mm-hmm. But when I came on board, I began to recognize, I'm like, there's something to this. And so it has become one person sitting in a corner to a team of 9 people, and it's a team of 7 people. They sit under my leadership as a strategy tool, and we utilize Asset Essentials, Capital Predictor, Energy Manager, some of the data services as well. And we've made it a cornerstone of our operations. So you know you've won and you've gotten buy-in when a principal, because those of us in education knows how this goes, someone's going to complain that my work did not get done. And so when they go and they complain to the CEO that facilities are slacking, when she got the buy-in, we were under School Dude. She said, well, did you put in a work order in School Dude? yes, we won. And so they say yes, we go look at the data and it's like, yeah, they did 2 hours ago. So that happens frequently. But we've gotten the buy-in just from our leadership over time, and it's become just a fixture. It's not just a maintenance tool. It's not just a capital tool. It's not just a finance tool. We use it across operations.
So what I love about that, and I talk to a lot of people on CMMS Radio, and throughout these years I've talked to a lot of people here at this event, at Brightly Illuminate. I've learned a lot already in just these couple of days, but you're utilizing this and it's fully integrated, and so what I'm envisioning is that you're at that level where you can start to continually improve as a result of how you leverage the technology. So we're going to come back to that. So I want to move this one over to Corey. Corey Dickens has been on CMMS Radio a handful of times, and one of the things that we tend to do sometimes is kind of wing it when we're having our conversations, just real, raw. And one of the things that Monique was talking about was, hey, I put in a work order, and she was like, yeah, right? One of the things that Corey and I talk about a lot is the idea that if it isn't written down, it didn't happen. And a lot of people struggle with user adoption. But what I wanted to ask you is about that, and then also I want to hear a little bit about the story of how you not only came into Brightly and are now a senior solutions consultant, but you were at one time a user of the Brightly platform, and I wanted to find out how you landed on Brightly as the solution, and I believe it was Asset Essentials, when you were in the manufacturing environment. By the way, Corey's an absolute expert when it comes to manufacturing environments, so if you could just give us a little bit of background on that.
Which one do you want me to start with?
Let's go with how you landed on Asset Essentials and Brightly as your solution of choice in that manufacturing environment, and then cap it off with, if it ain't written down, it didn't happen.
Didn't happen. All right, so let's jump in here. Once upon a time, there was a thing called COVID. So I had transitioned off of my last deployment with the Navy. I came back during a wonderful time where everyone's wearing masks, everything was locked down. I was like, well, what skill do I have? I was like, I can turn a wrench, I can run a maintenance team. So landed in my small town of Sanford, North Carolina, about 30 minutes south of here. And I went to an old textile facility. Walked in the door, and they were doing things all right. I mean, machines were running, product was making, obviously they're making money, the lights are still on. But everything in my interview process was, we want better documentation, we want to become more preventive, repair versus replace. So the light bulbs are just going off in Corey's head. I've used the systems in the Navy, they're terrible, but they're there. And I learned how to tell stories with the data, right? I've justified headcount through very antiquated means. But I figured it out, right? I cracked a code that not many people, 4-6 years in the Navy, are connecting the dots to. So I recognized that as a strength. I had to build some sweat equity with this company at first, right? I don't just come in like a bull in a china shop, like who am I? So I put my head down, and we were, I think, at like 25% availability of our critical production equipment when I walked in. By mid-January, a few months later, we were up around 60%, right? So there was an immediate impact of just, we're turning the wrench, we're stocking inventory, we're doing things. And I built a fantastic Excel spreadsheet, and I shared it as a living doc with my leadership team, and was like, here's the status of our assets, here's my comments, here's the expected update, right? Expected completed by. They never looked at it. But I was like, what it doesn't do is it doesn't tie all the different functions of what goes on in Corey's head all day long into a system, into a one-stop shop. So they came to me and they said, hey, you talked about some CMMSs. Go look and see if there's one you like on the market. Well, I was naive, and I thought that was the green light, and whatever Corey says, they're going to essentially get at that point. So I put my information in on softwareadvice.com. So I did that in my office. I walked to the next facility, and by the time I got to the equipment to start doing some repairs, I was like 5 or 6 phone calls deep, right? It was instantaneous, getting blown up. Brightly was one that contacted me early. A few others in the space, they're still known. But honestly, what drew me to Brightly early in the sales cycle was just the people. It's who I talk to. Again, Brian Coatney on our team in manufacturing, he's a professional engineer by trade, and he caught me. He's like, hey, you busy? I'm like, I'm about to do this R&D project. And he was like, oh, tell me about it. No feature pitch, no solution sale, no, hey, let's go on to schedule a demo. It's just like, he wanted to understand my problems to see if he could help and if we were a fit. So that continued on through the entire process, right? But again, I wasn't just trying to solve, I need to centralize my work orders, I need to schedule some PMs. 80% of CMMSs in the market do that. But how can I start gaining the foresight of what's the next challenge? How can I anticipate, continuously improve? How do I build upon? How do I grow in this? And again, Corey, in his background in the Navy, learned to use data and analytics to tell stories to justify headcount, repair versus replace, carrying heavy inventory that we didn't traditionally stock, which contributed to downtime heavily. And I needed a solution to see that. So Asset Essentials just stood out at that point.
And then we got to cap that off with, if it ain't written down, it didn't happen. So just real briefly, where did we learn that? I think we learned it from the same person.
So Dr. John Ross, he was on your podcast and he was talking about why we still struggle to adopt CMMSs nowadays, right? He talked about we haven't even mastered pen and paper. Mm-hmm. When I heard that, I giggled, but then I giggled because I also knew kind of the puzzle piece at the end that we're missing, where we probably did. We probably were really good at tracking pen and paper, Excel spreadsheets, CMMS at one point, but again, somewhere there was a disconnect between the input and the output. Mm-hmm. If a technician's gonna take the time to document a ticket or a work order, an activity, they need to know what that information is being used for. Far too often we hear about tracking your labor hours on a work order, where they're like, oh, now you're trying to big brother me. It's like, no. I need to know what you do every single day, if we can quantify it, so we can show the leadership, here's how much we do. Mm-hmm. Corey, at my last organization, they said, I know you are busy. I know you're swamped. And I was like, do you? So first thing I did, everything's a work order. I just need to quantify to you how much I accomplish on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, plus how much I'm deferring.
Right. And I would kind of put on top of that when we look at user adoption as one of our major challenges with any solution that we have amongst the Brightly products is that the people that are resisting, when you provide this documentation, you essentially, as we're telling this story with data, you really create a good reference point for when you want to make a case for hiring more people to your team, or maybe being able to look back, because ultimately with the solutions that you're all utilizing, you want a vision of the past, the present, and the future so that you can see what's really happening and find those opportunities for improvement. So now, Sarah, you for 7+ years have used the Works Hub, and this is at Royal Oak Senior Living. And for anybody that doesn't know, it's a 5-acre facility. They do a lot of incredible things. There's a 125-bed skilled nursing facility there. And I know for me personally, those kinds of environments are special because they make a real difference for the people, the community, the children of the parents that might be there. It's all good stuff, right? Kind of gooey, gushy stuff. So having used the Works Hub for over 7 years, we know you love it, because you and I talked about that. It's not just about the work orders and streamlining maintenance and facilities. The data informs your constant improvement of operations. Can you tell us a little bit about how does maintenance, grounds, and facilities benefit from using the system, and how does this translate into meaningful, useful data?
Okay, well, that's a big question. Royal Oaks has been using the maintenance module, maintenance, housekeeping, IT, for over 7 years now, and it was really being underutilized when I came on. And we kept adding modules, probably not the best timing in the world, but gave me something to do. It was job security. So, but For me, in the last 2 years of very intentionally gathering the data, and I know it sounds like, oh my gosh, it's, you've been 7 years into it, but when you don't necessarily have the buy-in of the maintenance staff running timers, and we just recently got the housekeepers running timers and things like that, and then we incorporated the landscaping module. We actually got a custom module for our refurbishing team. I would say us working as a team, and by that I mean all of the facility departments, including myself, really being able to close the gaps, I think is really where we've seen so much, and unifying our, it's not like, oh, we're using one faucet in assisted living and we're using another faucet in independent living. Why don't we use the same faucet? And so streamlining things like that, setting better standards, setting better charges so that we can, we were charging, because with COVID, my God, the prices went so, we were charging like $25 for a grab bar. Well, a grab bar now is, $45. That's just for the grab bar. And that's a basic one. That's not the fancy Moen one. They're 70. So, and we give away grab bars, by the way. At senior living, we give them away. But if they want the fancy one, they pay for it. But, I think it has caused overall a better resident experience by bringing in our renovation team, because we do all of our own renovations there. By bringing in the renovation team into it, we were able to finally start justifying and quantifying what's it really costing us to renovate a unit. This is a 40-year-old facility. So we still had units that had popcorn ceilings. And you had them in all different range. And the first time I'd met with our accountant in a number of different meetings, our CFO, and I finally put together a price per square foot on how much it was costing us to renovate rooms. And at the end of that meeting, he shook my hand. And any of you are familiar with the Great British Bake Off, when Paul Hollywood shakes your hand, it's a big deal, right? All right, I get a few giggles out there, but I almost cried. I was so excited because I knew we had done something good. And this really translates back to the residents because, like everybody has said, they call with a question and one of us can immediately pull it up. And I called 5 times on this. Well, I put in 5 work orders. Well, no, you didn't. You don't say that to them, of course. But no, you called yesterday. You put the work order in yesterday. So it's just been amazing to have that continuity. And finally, just this year, I was able to do year-over-year reports and feel as though the data was accurate. And that felt really good.
So this is one of the things when we're talking about user adoption and really going through those difficult steps, those difficult challenges of doing it right. It's going to take a little bit more time. But if you're playing the long game, you then start to see those moments when it starts to really make sense and it starts to connect maintenance, facilities operations, all of it to the business as a whole. And I think all of us understand in general that that's challenging and we're running around playing whack-a-mole and dealing with what's in front of us. But if we can just keep at it and make these steps, this progress, maybe it does take 5 or 6 years. Everybody out there might tell you, oh, you're going to get a CMMS and it's a magic button and you're good to go, rock and roll. Not even close to the truth. You need to use the platform. And this is why everybody here is at this conference, because we use Brightly products, not me myself, but all of us as a community. And this is a great example of what is on the horizon for you if you keep doing that. And I love that you have that buy-in from people to actually utilize the platform. And then when someone comes up to you and says, thank you, they've been waiting for that. They want that, but it's so hard to get it. That's why you need great technology, a company that's going to support that, and then somebody that's in charge of it, administrating it, that's pushing forward. So we're going to bring it back to you, Aaron. And as it relates to everything we talked about before, whether you remember or not, doesn't matter. It'll be okay. I wanted to ask where you're seeing the most efficiency and kind of the why behind it. And I also want to find out about the impacts, like that you're easily able to call out for us that you're seeing overall within your entire community and how you use these products.
Yeah, so maybe it'll help to give context of our journey with Asset Essentials. So we were a really early adopter. I was brought on to go live with a product from Acela. And I don't know if anybody is an Acela user here, but I looked at the requirements of what we were trying to do. I looked at the user interface. I looked at the customer satisfaction ratings of the company and quickly realized that Acela wasn't going to be the tool that we needed. So we were using Facility Dude in facilities. And so we invited Brightly folks, Dude Solutions at the time, to come and show us what they have. And they were showing us Mobile 311. And we noticed, like, what's this other thing we see on your screen there? I don't know if Brian Smith is in the room. But he's like, I don't know if I can show you that. It's too early. It's not ready. So we're like, no, we want to see that. We pushed him on it. And we got him to show Asset Essentials really early. And we're like, no, we want that. And we think that's going to be the best solution for us because of two major factors. One, the user interface was very intuitive. It looked easy to use. It looked like something that our end users, our facility folks, our roads folks, our parks folks, and our utilities crew would be able to use without too much training. And also the customer service. So Brightly's competitive advantage is their customer satisfaction, their customer service. I forget what it is, three rings and then pick up a phone call it used to be. So those two things led us to going live with Asset Essentials. And what that allowed us to do was invest the time, like coming to Brightly or coming to Illuminate, and investing that time to make it work for us. And by making it work for us, we're able to get the users to get the information when they need it. So users are making decisions, better decisions, and the amount of uncertainty we had about what was going on in our organization was this, and now we have less uncertainty. So the value of the data that Asset Essentials is providing is decreasing that amount of uncertainty, which makes it so that the bets we're placing on our organizations are more likely to pay off. So so if we were a casino, which Reno has casinos, we're doing what they are doing, which is essentially making sure that we have an advantage on the data side of things so that we can reap the benefits of those decisions and make it more successful.
Weird question, maybe it's not CMMS related, but do they ever comp you at the casinos?
No. So growing up in Reno, I know that they don't build big casinos because they lose money. So come. There's a reason that Nevada doesn't have a state income tax. So definitely come, have fun, enjoy it. But I can't, guarantee you're going to leave with any more money than you start with.
It's good stuff. By the way, for everybody, at 11 o'clock this morning, Aaron's going to be hosting a session where he's going to present on a lot of the same type of information, and that actually is called Measuring Value in Public Works, Key Performance Indicators, Objectives, and Key Results. So go to that session if you can. You will learn a heck of a lot more than we can cover here. So we want to keep it moving, and now we're going to go back to Monique. So please tell us, what does a day in the life look like as it relates to your use of Brightly and where it makes the most impact?
It's going to depend on who you talk to. So for our technicians, it's going to be convenience, or it's going to be a union grievance. I'm supposed to paint, but you're asking me to close work orders. So it just depends on who you're talking to. Our strategy and compliance team, the tools are just, it's their world. They love it, but then they look at the teams and they're like, why can't we have complete, accurate, and timely information? We have our supervisors and our managers. For them, it is the ease of planning and being able to schedule out work. But then on the other side, it's either you want me to be out in the field with the teams managing, or you either want me to close out and manage work orders. I'll do one, but you can't do both. What I came to realize is that this tool isn't just a school system tool, it's actually a community tool. And what do I mean by that? A couple of things. The media is looking for a story, so there's always a FOIA request, so you're always giving out data. We have our elected officials and our families that are saying, all right, what kind of work are you doing in our schools? What kind of projects are you doing? We'd like to see all of that information. We'll gladly share it. Please make a FOIA request. For me, it's about, I'm constantly looking at the data. I said this yesterday, give me the raw data so that I can just take a look at it and see what is the data telling me. I don't necessarily like canned reports because I just want to be able to manipulate and see the different ways that I can flip the data, especially when I'm trying to answer difficult questions. Yeah, I think that's, last one, school leaders. The best thing is that they are starting to use it more. It helps with predictability. Prior to rolling out School Dude, a school leader, you couldn't tell them, or they didn't know what work was going to be done, who was coming into their school, and when. But now they feel as though they can look, see what's going to happen, what's been completed, or because they get that notification that says this work order was done, they can also pick up the phone and say, but I'm looking at the hole that's still in the wall, and I know that that work wasn't done. So it just depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah, and that reminds me of something that a lot of people think of, and we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, where people on maintenance teams, various technicians, they might have the wrong viewpoint when it comes to utilization of the system, where it's there to jam them up, and it's not. It's really to empower them, because when people understand the why and they accept and participate in that concept of accountability, then that's kind of okay. And you might find some bad actors. It's unfortunate, but it happens. But that's kind of a cool story, that you can get that more expedited response to these things and understand what's really going on. So now, back to Sarah. So the
Mixing it up.
question I wanted to ask you was, with all this data at Royal Oaks that you're collecting, how the data really is used by whom? Not just yourself, but other people within the entire organization. Can you give us any insights on how that data is utilized somewhat differently than how you used it?
Sure. Where I've seen the biggest change has really been in the C-suite. That we are finally able to give them the data that they need to be able to make decisions. And as we've begun doing more of the asset tracking and reporting on assets as well, we're able to justify. And for instance, we just went under a hiring freeze, and I was able to give the person who needed the information justification to still continue to hire because of the number of work orders that were being requested in that particular area. The financial impact has been big, again, for us to be able to show billing. How much are we billing out? Where could we bill more to the residents? There's a lot of service creep in, I think, in senior living in particular, because we want to make everybody so happy. And then when you realize, oh, wait a minute, we aren't billing people for things, and that could help bolster the overall income. And the reverse was true. We looked at what we were spending in billing for a light bulb, and we decided we aren't going to charge for light bulbs anymore. We aren't going to charge for batteries anymore. Now, the residents don't know that they're free, so they're not calling up asking for 10 AA batteries or something like that. But it's really allowed us to streamline so many activities, and I've gotten some of the other managers to be able to run reports, or they'll call me and say, hey, can I do this? And I'll be, yep, come on down, I'll show you how to do it. And then next thing you know, they're running reports and saving reports, and they're realizing, oh, so-and-so's not only working so many hours, and we discovered the Pulse tab, and we can keep tabs on it. And then the other thing is, we talked about the buy-in from the staff. And when we put our warehouse when we kind of commissioned our warehouse about 3 years ago, so much resistance from the techs. And yet now they'll come to the office and be like, where's my part? Oh, well, it's on order. Well, it says right here that I requested the order on this day. You told me, I made a note that you told me on this day. And they were like, oh, well, okay then. But to see them embracing the technology, using the resources as well, and asking, oh, am I supposed to bill a resident for this? Things like that that never would have happened before. And it's so nice to see people just embracing the work sub. It makes you proud.
And it's something to be proud of. So, Corey, now we want to get right into your senior solutions consultant role. And I want to understand how now you help various manufacturers on their journey when it comes to asset essentials or otherwise, because what I've noticed is you seem to understand every single product offering. So what is the data? What are the data points that you're able to not only help them achieve, but what are the common ones that they can get to when they work with you?
It's a broad question.
I know.
It depends. So the majority of my work is on the pre-sale side. It's when they're evaluating different vendors, right? And they're trying to hone in and say, is Brightly, is Asset Essentials the right fit for us, right? It's not always that clear because there's a lot of noise in the space at times. My job is to try and, I guess, let them know that you have a friend on this side. It's just not all a sales cycle. I'm not just trying to pitch you something to sell. I'm trying to help you solve a problem. Mm-hmm. They may not understand the problem. They may just know kind of what irritates them from day to day, which are symptoms of a problem. And if you just try to solve the pain points, right, the problems and the real pain is going to keep coming. It's not going to stop. So you have to get to the core, the root cause, and you have to mitigate it, or you have to figure out how to solve it. And I'm trying to help them discover that. I'm not trying to tell them, right? My job, even though as a consultant, I'm not telling them their problem. I'm letting them self-discover by asking the right questions. Mm-hmm. And then I say, okay, well, here's how we handle that type of workflow. And again, that's also my job to kind of help vet out, are we talking about a CMMS? When you're talking about like getting into real-time monitoring, condition monitoring, now it's smart assets, or are we talking about origin, right? Also kind of dig around, ESG is still a big topic. Manufacturing goes back and forth. It depends on, were we just purchased? Do we have investor relations? Are they still worried about it? Because manufacturing is just all for profit, right? So unless it contributes to the top line, it's just going to go out the window. But we still have to connect that dot for them. Like, this has an impact. This has an impact to your community. I came from a small manufacturer, right? If my small manufacturer was the largest contributor of pollution in my community and I live in that community, I'm going to say something. What can we do about this? How can we become a little bit cleaner? How can we be more efficient with the resources that we have, right? Because we contribute to this community. So I'm trying to help them just navigate the wilderness, which is a sales cycle. But the data points, they always come in. I need PM schedule compliance, I need downtime tracking, and I need what's my RM to PM ratio, right? Quickly I can flash those up. But I always try and say, let's talk about where these numbers come from. Because again, that's what they need to map back to the work orders and require certain actions completed to get this information. Or else 7 years in, you don't really trust the data yet. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem. So we have to clearly communicate that, because too many people in the space, CMMS related or not, just say, oh, here's downtime tracking. It's as simple as this. The system would do it for you. No. When humans are involved, that's 80% of our problems. Right? Machines don't break. Humans that interact with machines break machines. Like someone told me the quote on a demo, we were talking about a similar topic. They're like, yeah, the idea is one day we'll get to a point where the only person in the factory is one human and a dog. The human watches the machines, the dog keeps the human away from the machines.
Have you met Ethan, the hero dog?
Gigantic.
Everybody, I encourage you to get to know Ethan, the hero dog. Later on, there's going to be a session all about him. Jeff's there with him, and I just took that opportunity because I love that dog. It's incredible. And you talked about dogs. So
and I talked about dogs.
We got to have some fun. So I think what we want to do at this point is kind of shift gears a little bit, and I want to, for each of you, first of all, I want to thank you for participating in this panel and everybody else for, joining us. How's everybody doing?
All right.
We wide awake, ready to rock and roll for the rest of the day? What is your favorite thing about Brightly Illuminate? And there are no wrong answers.
My favorite thing is sharing the experience, because we are all in kind of the same situation to where we're trying to use this technology, put it into our processes, use our people in order to do more and communicate the value we do. So hearing the stories about everybody and their paths and how they got there, learning from the community, that's the best thing about this conference, is really the folks and sharing those stories and hearing what's going on.
Monique?
Yes, I'm going to say it's comforting, but it's comforting to know that you're not the only one with the issues that you have. And so hearing that folks have a lot of the same issues that you have and listening to how they're working through that is great, because you tend to think that you're unique in your situation. So that's what I mean by comforting.
Very cool. Sarah?
I'm going to say humbling, because when I came last year, I thought we were up here at Royal Oaks. I knew we were. And it took maybe a couple sessions for me to realize we were all the way down here. And we had so much more work to do. So it was humbling in that it gave me a different perspective, but at the same time it was very inspiring, because it gave me something to work for and to take back to our team. And they would say that I would glow when I would talk about the Works Hub, because I got so excited about I had a vision of what we could be, and to be able to really see that growth in just 1 year, and then to be able to come back a year later and know just how much we accomplished just in that 1 year. And I give Illuminate a lot of credit for that.
Corey?
Continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. I'll start with that because last year was my first in-person Illuminate, and I got to meet a lot of people through the Industry Connect or the sessions I got to lead, right? People coming up asking questions after, and they're like, just where do I start, right? So point them to the Learning Lab, point them to the account reviews, and we just point out 2 or 3 things that are pain points for them, or problems, right, challenges, and they get to check in this year and see them again, come back and say, how'd you handle that? And then learn from that. And then what we did in our Industry Connect was we had them get in groups and talk about the challenges for their business, how they're using these tools, or where they evolved, or what they discovered, and the best ideas to light, right, about how to solve those. And that, I think, meant more than most, right? So it's the people, it's humbling, it's learning, but it's just continuous improvement.
I love it, and the reason I say there's no wrong answers is we're all on a journey together, but we're all individuals. We have our own perspectives, and that's one of the things that I'm really all about when we do CMMS Radio episodes and this amazing panel. This has been incredible, but it's about people, it's about process, and I think this event is incredible. It's the first time I've ever been. I'm honored to be here, and I just can't say enough good things, so instead of continuing to talk, we're going to call this one a wrap. I want to thank everyone for being here for this special episode of CMMS Radio.
Give it up one more time for our amazing panel. Thank you all so much.
Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.